welcome to my Hacienda. My name's Alicia Haas, aka Miss Chatterhaas, and it's apple season. I love this season. In the town that I live in, we have an apple harvest festival that goes on. So you can find great apples anywhere. In the supermarket, they normally have a little section for like locally grown apples. It's awesome. So, one of my family's favorites, and especially my dad and my husband's favorites, are apple pie. So that's what we're going to make today. This is very similar to my grandmother's recipe, so it's kind of been handed down, but it's just a little bit tweaked to kind of my tastes, my husband tastes, so let's get started making this. So I have 8 apples in here that I have cored, sliced, and peeled. So, I used Golden Delicious, I used Granny Smith, and I used Macintosh. That's normally the combination that I use, but you can use any kind of baking apples. You just want to be real careful about getting an apple that's either too sweet or too tart, and just using it by itself, or using an apple that's not a baking apple, because they'll fall apart and just kind of become mush in your pie. You don't really want that. You want them to be able to stand up. You want them to kind of make a sound. You want that crisp sound when you break them. So I have 8 in here. Usually about 2.5 to 3 pounds works. I usually cut up an extra one because there's always an apple that when I go to peel it, I just butcher it. And it's like, you know, I get this nice apple and it's like this big when I'm done. So I have 8 apples in here. Like I said, I used Macintosh, I used Granny Smith, and I used Golden Delicious. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add 3/4 cup of white sugar. So, there's my 1/2 cup. There's my 1/4 cup. You can use a 1/4 cup of flour. This is just to make sure, so when the apples secrete their juices and you get that juice in the pie, that it kind of makes a little bit thicker of a juice and not a real watery pie. I also need a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. I do like to pack my brown sugar, so you get as much of it as possible. Now you're going to need a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. Sprinkle that all over. And 1 teaspoon. I think I have to use a 1/2 teaspoon because I don't think it fits. Yeah, 1/2 teaspoon, or sorry, a full teaspoon of cinnamon. That's 1/2. Alright. And I am going to cut a lemon. Just going to squeeze about 1/2 of this in. Alright. My oven just went off. It is at 350, getting ready. So now, I'm going to stir this up, and I want to make sure that every apple is equally coated with brown sugar and white sugar and the cinnamon and the nutmeg. Now I do know that they make an apple pie spice. So I know that McCormick makes it, so if you want to just skip the cinnamon and the nutmeg and everything, you can just put that in there, and you are good to go. Just kind of like they make pumpkin pie spice. Alright, this looks so good. Alright, so those are happily done. I'm going to let those sit for a little bit. Now comes the pie crust. So I don't normally make my own pie crust. You can get just as good a pie crust in the store now as you can making it yourself. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this. This is Pillsbury. Come on out. And I'm gonna roll one on the bottom. I kind of just make it a little even. So there's a little bit folded over everywhere, and just kind of push it into the pie pan. I like glass when I'm making pies. I feel that they hold a more even temperature than metal. Don't ask me why, I just do. Alright, so I am going to poke a couple of holes in this, just because I don't want this to bubble, but I don't poke a whole lot. My grandmother's probably having a heart attack right now that I just did that, but just something I do. Alright, so we are going to put the pie filling in here now. I like a really, really full apple pie. Oh, get this kind of spread in there. You guys come back. Okay. Almost done. Whoop. Oh, thought I was gonna make it. I didn't. Okay. You want it to be a little over full. Oh, I have one left. You want it to be a little over full because they are going to kind of go down. And I am going to kind of pack them in there. Move you down here. All right, let me wash my hands really quick. And now for the lattice work. So, my grandmother has taught me how to do this, and it took me a really long time to really get it right, to really perfect it. So I'm going to show you how it's done. Alright, so you're going to take the other piece. Come on out. You're going to unroll. Alright, so now I'm going to get my pizza cutter. Oh, wrong way. And I'm going to cut thin strips. Let me go up so I can kind of keep them straight. Alright. More. Alright. So now you're going to take one from, you're going to take every other one. So I'm going to take him, put him there. I think I can do one more. Move these a little over. Okay. So now, you have the first layer done, you have the rest of your pie crust. You don't want to seal these to the end of the pie yet, because we're going to work on the lattice work of this. So I'm going to move these a little bit so they can get right in front of me. Alright, first one. We're going to pick you up, and I'm going to start him here. Now, he's going to go over top of this one, and under this one. Over top, under, over top. I'm just going to slide him a little bit so he's even. Done. Next guy. So now we're going to do exactly the opposite of what we just did. So, he's going to go under, over, under, over, under. So now you can kind of see we have that lattice work going on. Next guy goes over, then under, over. And you're going to keep doing this until you have used all of your little pieces. Okay, this guy goes under, over. And this is why you don't want to attach any of the pieces yet. He's a little chunky. We're gonna thin him off a little bit. All right, last one. So he's going over, under, over, under, over. Now, you have that latticework that you always see in the supermarket when you look at an apple pie, and that's just the traditional apple pie that just looks so good. So now I'm just going to kind of go ahead and make sure everything's at least a little even around here. Actually, it wasn't too bad. So now I'm going to take and just press all of these little ends. I'm going to kind of press them into the pie crust so they stay. You might need to fold them under a little bit. They might be a little long. So I'm going to go ahead and get him all ready. Oop, he can be folded under a little bit. Here we go. So now when I was a kid, my absolute favorite part of my grandmother making apple pie, aside from eating it, was these little leftover ends, because we used to put butter and cinnamon sugar on them and roll them up, and we used to put them in the oven. Takes like 3 or 4 minutes, and then you have like these little cinnamon sugar kind of cinnamon roll things. They were so good. So now I'm just going to kind of come in here, and I'm going to take my finger and my thumb, like this, and just make a little fluted edge around the whole way. You absolutely don't have to do this. So, just keep going around. A lot of people like to use a fork on the edge. Just kind of makes it a little bit pretty. You know, if you're just making this to try out so you can test it, you absolutely don't have to do this, but it does make it kind of finished. All right, finished. All right, so now we are going to take a little bit of butter. Oh, nope, this one. And I'm just going to put a little bit kind of in these little holes. Just a little bit. So it's going to help give you some of that oil, right? You're making kind of a, inside here, you're kind of making a little bit of a roux, so that oil and flour to kind of thicken that sauce as it cooks. So this is your oil part. So all in all, I probably use maybe a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half, depending on how many little holes I have and how big the little holes are in the latticework. All right, one more. All right, so one step from being completed. Now you want to make this golden brown so it's so yummy, and not only does it taste good, but it looks good. So I'm going to use 1 egg. I just want to use the yolk. So I'm going to get the whites out. I'm going to dump them out. And then plop my yolk in. And I'm going to use just about a teaspoon of milk. Just a hair. Right? I'm going to beat those up. Alright. Now, the other thing that my grandmother always did is she puts this thing on with her fingers. I don't know why. I think it's probably a little more delicate than a brush. But I've never seen her do this with a brush. Sometimes she might have done a little bit with a spoon, never brush. So, it's good enough for my grandmother, it's good enough for me. Her apple pies were the best thing ever. Alright, so I want to make sure to get the outside crust as well as the latticework. think we're all good. Oh, nope, missed a spot. All right. I think we're good. And now I'm gonna take some sugar and just sprinkle it lightly over the top. You don't have to do this. Just makes it just kind of takes it up that level that just makes it perfect. All right, just a teaspoon, sprinkle over the top. Now this is going to go in a 350-degree oven for about 45 minutes. I do have a pie shield, so I'm going to keep a really close eye on this. So what you want is you want the center to be real bubbly, and you want the crust to be a golden brown. You know, we put that egg wash on there, so we're going to have it a deep golden brown. So I'm just going to keep a careful eye on it because the outside can tend to burn first. If you don't have a pie shield like this, just use aluminum foil. It works just as well. Just kind of take a piece of aluminum foil, fold it, cut out the center, and you can just plop it on. And it just sits kind of like that to keep the edge of your pie safe. So, I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven, and I will see you when it's golden brown and bubbly. Alright, so we're back. Pie is cooked. I actually left it in for 50 minutes instead of the 40 to 45 minutes, just so we would get a really nice brown crust. Once I hit about 30 minutes, I did have to put my pie shield on because the end started to get just a little brown. But let me tip this over. Like, I wish you could be here. This smell is like, it's intoxicating. So let me tip this bad guy over for you. See if I can get as close as possible without dropping it. How good does that look? The next time you need to go someplace, take something with you, you need to do a bake sale, this is what you can bring. Because it's going to look so good that people are going to think that you bought it, but will know that you made this. It smells so good. I do recommend not eating it when it's piping hot, about room temperature. That way the juice and everything from the apples has a little bit of time to congeal again, so it doesn't, you don't cut a slice and it just runs everywhere. So let it come to room temperature, which I know is going to be hard because it smells so good, but trust me, you're going to want to wait to make it even better. Serve this with some ice cream, with some caramel sauce. You cannot go wrong. There's nothing more American and nothing better than apple pie. If you enjoyed watching me make this recipe, subscribe down below for more videos. I make more every Sunday and Wednesday, so please check them out. Hope to see you then. Bye!